We will now consider log number 4778 by Mr. Fallon. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I got an amendment to the desk.
Will the clerk please distribute the amendment? Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas for the purpose of explaining his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is about synergy. This amendment allows the Secretary of Defense to hire contractors to support border security by providing services like logistics, monitoring, transportation, data entry, and more to assist U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. The military has been aiding with operations at the southern border for more than 2 decades. When military personnel are at the border, they assist in several types of roles, including things as simple as logistics, clerical roles, even directing traffic. Many of these roles currently are filled by military personnel, could be filled by contractors for a, here's the key, fraction of the cost. This is a common sense amendment that was proposed by both the Biden and Trump administrations. The DoD estimates that using contractors instead of military personnel in FY24 could have saved $105 million in lodging, per diem, and family separation costs, which range from about $166 to $304 per day, and $250 per person per month. So the average cost savings would be about 20%. Well, if you look at fully integrating this come FY26, we're talking $533 million in savings. So I think it's a common sense amendment, and hopefully it'll pass with flying colors. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does anyone seek ranking members recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I oppose this amendment. Basically, what we're making DoD do now is DHS's job, which is contracting for border security. Now, we recognize that bipartisan administrations and Congresses support DoD in a support role on border security. They perform that role, in a variety of different ways, which people support broadly. May disagree about some of the specific aspects of it, but this is a pretty significant expansion of that because it puts DoD in the position of contracting. It is something that the Department of Homeland Security is supposed to be in charge of and should be doing. It is mission creep and costs the Department of Defense money they shouldn't have to spend. So I oppose the amendment and yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colleagues, this amendment would grant the Pentagon open-ended authority to hire troops and private military contractors for routine border enforcement, blurring the bright line between national defense and domestic policing. Our armed forces exist to deter foreign adversaries, not to police immigration checkpoints. Every soldier, aircraft, and dollar shifted to the border is taken from critical missions, such as deterring aggression in the Indo-Pacific, responding to disasters, or safeguarding sea lanes. And before you say what could be more important to our national security than stopping an invasion, I'll remind you that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, appointed by this current president, testified to our committee only weeks ago that there is no invasion at our southern border. And y'all just increased DHS's budget beyond even the budget of the entire Marine Corps. So the idea that on top of that misguided investment, they would also need to use U.S. military assets is laughable at best and deeply concerning at worst. Bringing in private military firms only magnifies these risks. Rushed hiring, thin training, limited accountability, and a powerful lobbying class with a financial stake in permanent militarization. It's cheaper because they cut corners. We've seen how contractor scandals overseas damage U.S. credibility. We should not import that problem onto American soil. Border communities thrive on cooperation with CBP and local law enforcement, not on the site of Humvees and concertina wire along Main Street. And I would know, because unlike many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I actually represent a border community. And a standing military presence chills commerce and erodes trust without fixing the real gaps in our immigration system. This proposal diverts resources, muddles oversight, and undermines the foundational principle that the military stays out of the day-to-day domestic law enforcement. I urge my colleagues to reject it and keep the Pentagon focused on genuine external threats. I yield back.
I must say I'm impressed that the young lady used the term y'all with such comfort. She must be from Southern California. Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Garamendi.
A brief question to Mr. Fallon, if I might, if he would take a question.
Yeah, sure.
The money for these contracts, does it come from the Department of Defense's appropriations?
I know it saves the Defense Department, it would save them $500 million.
So it is the Defense Department dollars?
I believe so.
Thank you. Reclaiming my time. In the reconciliation bill, there's 150, maybe 170 billion dollars for the border security, Department of Homeland, and ICE and related activities, Customs and Border Patrol, $170 billion, of which, and that's all additional money over and above their base. I believe that is more or less the right numbers. So my question here, Mr. Fallon, not to you, but to this issue is, why are we using the Department of Defense money to do contracts with private entities, which we can argue the wisdom of that, and I don't oppose that, depending upon the nature of the contract. But why would that contract be paid for by the Department of Defense rather than Homeland Security, in this case, either ICE or Customs and Border Patrol? Now, I've been on the Readiness Committee for quite a while, and I'm going, that will undoubtedly be readiness money that will not be available for the military to train, equip, repair, well, maybe even upgrade barracks and living facilities. That money is going to be used for the purposes of immigration control. When I don't intend to debate the wisdom of that, just say that's okay, let's do it. But why use the Department of Defense money? You argued correctly that it's cheaper to contract than to send the troops out there, and we've seen this significantly in Southern California, the extraordinary expense of having the, troops, National Guard, and others standing in front of federal buildings, just with no purpose other than to stand there. And yet, the clock is ticking and the money is spent. So my opposition here is not on the notion of contracting, but who's going to pay for the contracting. There's another argument to be made that the military shouldn't be doing this in the first place. We heard that earlier with the posse comitatus issue, and we're going to probably hear it again. I won't bring that point up here. But if this is to pass, and it probably will, considering how divided we are in this committee, if it is to pass, I would urge, Mr. Fallon, that you consider amending this bill so that if the military is to do the contracting, the military is reimbursed from the $170 billion of new money that Homeland Security, and specifically ICE and Customs and Border Patrol, will have available to them, and that we use the Department of Defense money to deal with those things that increase the readiness and the lethality of our troops. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New Mexico, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you so much to the gentleman from Texas for putting forward this proposal. If you're interested in cost savings and border security, I have got a proposal for you. And it's going to save not millions, but billions of dollars. In fact, I just talked about it. Now, when we skip the campaign speeches and actually get to saving taxpayer money, we can achieve more secure border using better technology and using innovation. And you've just proved my point. So I appreciate you bringing this up. And although my amendment will likely be voted down, let's just think about the billions versus the millions of dollars that I'm proposing to save on border security and have this discussion. But until then, that extra $46.5 billion that goes to DHS for securing our border should stay in DHS and shouldn't be robbed from our servicemen and women. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on the Fallon amendment? There's no further debate. The question occurs on the amendment offered by Mr. Fallon. Those who are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. No. Chair, the ayes have it. The amendment's agreed to.